because these like filters soften like real bright lights. So if we get like backlit stuff, it should look pretty cool.
So I am ready to say goodbye to my TIFF and glimmer glass filters because these black mist filters from NiSi are quickly becoming my favourite diffusion filters for both photo and video. I'll dive into why these are my new favourites throughout the video, but I wanted to get straight into the shoot where I used the filters for all the photos and videos that you were about to see. So let's get started. So for today's shoot, I really wanted to achieve soft, dreamy images without the major loss of contrast I feel like you tend to get with the TIFF and diffusion filters. For most of this shoot, I used the stronger filters, mainly the 1/4 and the 1/2. My setup for the day was the Canon R5 with the RF 50mm 1.2 and the Sigma 28mm 1.4 on an EF to RF adapter. This is my favourite two lens combination right now. A great way that I love to use stronger diffusion filters is for floral portraits like this. As long as you make sure there's no bright highlights in the frame to avoid any bloom or loss of contrast, just fill the frame with a colourful background like I am here, and the black mist filter will smooth out skin details and skin tone along with subduing highlights on the face, giving you a soft pastel effect to the images, giving it a kind of gentle, almost vintage look.
Come a little closer.
I wanted to shoot the 50mm 1.2 wide open, just to add to that dreamy, ethereal effect. I really like how the half filter is giving a nice glow to the highlights on the face, as you can see here. Side by side with the 1/4 strength, you can see that the 1/4 filter gives you much of the same effect with just a little more contrast.
I'll maybe swap lens, we can maybe get some like wide ones down this path, see what it looks like.
So now onto my favourite way to use mist filters, which is in a backlit situation like this.
Steps back and then we'll maybe do like some walking ones. So if you just like do a little bit of movement or even just fake a step, whatever, and I'll just grab a few shots.
I find diffusion filters really useful if I'm shooting in the midday sun. What I tend to do is find somewhere like this path with a strong backlight shining through the trees, and I'll aim up with the camera to achieve a blooming and softening of the highlights.
Ready when you are.
A lot of other filters give you a really intense, overbearing glow to the highlights that kills contrast in the image. These NiSi versions may not have as intense of a glow, but the bright highlights bloom wider, more evenly and softly. Now here's each strength side by side, where you can see not only the increase in bloom in the highlights, but the change in contrast as the strength of diffusion increases. Let me know below which one is your favourite. This Sigma 28mm is one of the best lenses I've used for flare resistance and retaining contrast when shooting backlit. I really hope we see some native Sigma lenses to RF mount soon, although this EF lens really is as good as any RF mount lens I've used yet.
You so against a tree, maybe just like leaning, try that, we've got it, that looks awesome. Just hold that.
And anyone who used the RF 50mm 1.2 knows just how sharp this lens is. The 1/4 NiSi black mist filters takes off just enough of that clinical sharpness you can sometimes get from these modern ultra sharp lenses, as well as giving the slightest softening of skin detail, making retouch a quicker task at mid-length shots like these. It can be a little scary using diffusion filters of this strength, as you are baking in a look in camera and there's no going back if the results don't come out the way you hoped. But luckily for me, these came out exactly as I hoped, and I like that these black mist filters don't overdo the softening or the bloom or the loss of contrast, so the photos still respond really nicely to editing in post.
Perfect.
One thing I really like about the 1/2 strength filter is that when shooting backlit like I am in this greenhouse, the light coming from behind envelops the model and kind of wraps around her, which really helps give you that dreamy glow in camera, which is an effect that is hard to get to look natural in post. I found with a lot of other filters that I've tried at this kind of strength and in this situation, that the subject becomes really washed out and you just lose too much contrast that can't really be fixed in post. Okay, so that was the shoot, and I've been really impressed with these NiSi black mist filters so far after trying a ton of other brands. I've tried most of the popular Tiffin filters, such as all of the black pro mists. I've tried black satin and glimmer glass. I've been using glimmer glass on all of these talking headshots you've seen in my past videos. I've been using it on my Fujifilm X100V, and I've also used it on my behind the scenes shots. My only complaint with the glimmer glass was that it would ruin certain shots by sapping too much contrast out of the subject when shooting backlit. But these NiSi black mist filters seem to solve all my complaints with the glimmer glass, and I was pushing them pretty hard in this video, shooting in some really strong backlit situations. But anyway, let's take a closer look at each filter on something like a headshot to see how it affects skin detail, color, and contrast. So here is the first image with no filter. Now the 1/8 filter is quite a subtle effect. It doesn't really reduce sharpness or skin detail at all, but what I like about it is that it reduces the highlights on the model's face, giving a slightly more even skin tone. The 1/4 starts to soften wrinkles and blemishes, which can help speed up retouching just a little. There's also a bit of a drop in contrast now, but we can really see the filter working now. At 1/2, surprisingly, you're still not losing a ton of sharpness. But skin detail is softened once more with even more of a drop in contrast, giving you a kind of vintage, dreamy look. And here they are all side by side. For a headshot like this, I really like the 1/8 filter to just take the edge off a sharp clinical look, but the 1/4 filter looks really good too if you're going for a more stylized, softening effect without overdoing it. The 1/8 filter is what I would probably leave on my X100V all the time, just for that slight softening of highlights, give it a more organic look without sacrificing any resolution. The 1/4 filter would be my go-to for that dreamy, ethereal look whenever a shoot may call for it, or when I want to shoot backlit and get that beautiful bloom in the highlights. But anyway, as great as these filters look for photography, diffusion filters are an absolute favourite amongst videographers. So let's see what effect each filter has in video. Let's start off here with our no filter shot. Keep an eye on the bright highlights to the right as we move on to the 1/8 strength filter. Now the 1/8 is subtle in terms of bloom, but it does soften some of the highlights on the model's face, same as it did in photo. Now on the 1/4 filter, we do start to see that soft bloom in the highlights. Contrast is reduced too, but not too much. Finally, at 1/2, the bloom in the highlight extends out and envelops the model. Contrast is considerably reduced too. And now let's have a look at them all side by side. Now one of my favourite ways to use diffusion filters for video is at night time with bright lights. So let me show you a few examples with each filter strength. So here's the first shot with no diffusion. As we work through each strength, you'll see the bloom around the lights increase, giving a really cool, almost sci-fi-like effect. These filters are really fun to use in this kind of scenario and breathes life into a late night city shot like this. Now here's all the filter strengths side by side, showing how the effect increases with each filter strength. But the filter I use the most for video is definitely the 1/8 strength. For me, I feel that it's perfect for everyday use, and it just helps take off some of that digital sharpness that you tend to get with modern camera and lens combinations. It subtly softens highlights and skin details and helps achieve that soft cinematic look that we all love. So a big thank you to NiSi for sending these filters out for me to try. There's a link in the description to the product if you want to check out these filters. I want to hear from you down in the comments if you use diffusion filters for photography too, and if so, let me know down below which ones you're using at the moment. So thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will catch you in the next one.